little Lex in the box.
Again, thank you so much for doing this interview with Lex in a Box. And we're so happy to have you a part. Go ahead and tell us, Miss Yolanda, tell me about yourself, what you do, you as a person, your mom. Tell us a little bit, girl.
Okay, I've been with the district 26 years. I started elementary, now middle. Um, I worked my way up. So I worked back then we had dish machines, so I was a dishwasher and all that. I'm a mother of two grown kids, and I'm a grandmother of two kids as well, and I have custody of one. So during COVID, our life is just church on Zoom, work in the backyard. That's all we
I
do.
know that's right.
It's not too exciting right now.
Yeah, but hey, better safe than sorry, you know?
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now, you have been serving for, I read, 26 years,
Yes.
and you have a team of 5 ladies.
Right now it's changing. I think we're five now. We went up when my numbers went up. And since I've been doing interviews, where Brown is, that's like Church Row. We got all those churches, around. So since I've been doing all the interviews, a lot of the churches have stepped up and they passing out a lot of lunches. So over in our area, the lunches have went down because when I leave work on Thursday, the YMCA is giving out lunches. Friendship West give out lunches. Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, the
Yeah.
Potter's House. It's a lot of people helping out, Antioch. So yeah.
That feels real good. I bet you don't have to work as hard as you were working. Being that
It makes
y'all
me
were,
feel good that they're not, how we was trying to fill that void, that need, and now other people stepped up to help.
yep.
Because what we give out is like what you would get for lunch. But what the churches are giving out is what they could make a dinner with, a meal where you can have some leftovers and stuff. So that really helps out. Ours is like a breakfast and a lunch, and the churches are giving a dinner. So it
Oh,
really helped,
wow. Yeah, because I mean, the school's not giving out dinner, so and then something to have leftovers with. That's always amazing. Let me
Yeah.
tell you, y'all are doing some amazing things in the community, especially in that zip code, girl. That's my hood. I'm telling you, DISD till the day I die, girl.
Okay,
can you
okay.
can you talk a little bit about the timeline of the school closure for Dallas ISD? Schools didn't close to March 23rd. Can you talk about the time before that, working up into that, and your mindset on the school closure, being that COVID had just hit the U.S.?
When COVID hit, we was going out for spring break. And at that time, we knew it was serious, but we didn't know it was that serious because, DeSoto and Duncanville was out on spring break and we was still working. So I'm just happy getting ready to go on spring break and the kids was going to go back to school. And I was thinking about my free time. And as it started, that's when DeSoto said, well, they going to be out another week. And then, they went in. So I said, well, okay, that's good. I don't have to get up early. By that time, DISD was calling us, asking us to come back into work. So I was really out that Monday and that Tuesday for spring break, and I was back at work Wednesday. So we had to really
Wow.
start with trying to see because, they started hearing reports on how bad it was going to be, and
Hmm.
people, was going to go in lockdown. So they was trying to find something, a way that we could get out there and keep it going, for the kids and for the families.
Got it. Now, whose decision was it to keep the lunches going?
It was food service decision because we know during a year, you work in a school, it's a lot of kids that, they really depend on the meals.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one thing to be closed a week, you can kind of scrounge around for a week. But when you get into that second week, that's kind of hard, covering. So, and we feed them in the summer so they don't have to worry about the summer. So it's like, well, no, we got to help those kids that really don't have nothing. So it was their idea.
Awesome. Now, I understand that y'all were not forced to give out the lunches. Is that correct?
No, we're not forced. They gave us the option, to stay at home and stay safe. So it was our choice, the workers, do y'all want to give up your spring break and come and work? So it was really voluntary. Whoever came to work, it was a voluntary. So the ladies that's working at my school, those are not my regular workers. Those are ladies from other
Okay.
schools that decided to come to work. So yeah, we'll mix. I call us the COVID team because that's not my regular team.
Got it. That was the COVID team. Well, shout out to
Yeah,
the
we the
COVID
COVID
team.
team.
Yes, the COVID team. I want to go ahead and give them a shout out. It was Portia Lacey, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kiki Lafayette, Shannon Wiggins, Pamela Harrington, and Katrina Parker.
Yes, that's us. That's my
The
team.
COVID team. Shout out to the COVID team because they were absolutely amazing. Now, y'all went back to work. Talk about a little bit how the schools weren't going to supply masks, even though they understood that COVID was a big deal.
Well, at that time when we first went back, masks wasn't required. So they wasn't, some people was wearing masks and some people wasn't. It was still like on shaky ground on how you could get it, what was required. So they was like, if y'all want a mask, just get a bandana. So when they seen, well, hey, that's part of the health thing, they got to scrambling getting some masks. And then a lot of volunteers came and dropped off masks because there was a
Perfect.
lady who drove up with a car full of masks for us. So,
Oh, very
it's been a
nice.
real help. Yeah.
It's really been awesome to see such so many people come together and give, And even though
Yeah,
it's such a
exactly.
it's traumatic, it's a pandemic, but it's so good to see people still have good hearts, and you are absolutely one of them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, you are
Hey, but
very
the
welcome.
teachers have been a big help because when we first started, we thought the numbers gonna be low. We thought it was just gonna be, the kids that we know that normally kind of in need, and
Hmm.
then the numbers like skyrocketed, and it's like, oh, that was some work. So my principal called in some teachers and asked them, did they want to volunteer? And it was a lot of teachers that came and volunteered that first week or two, helping us pack lunches, and that really, because that was hard work. Those first
Wow.
2 weeks,
Yeah,
yeah, it
I
was
bet
a
it
little bit.
was. You say it was hard work, and I understand that it definitely was. Can you talk about how you going to work during COVID, giving out these meals? How does that affect you and your home life? You have a family yourself. Let's talk about a little bit about yourself, Miss Yolanda.
It was hard because I did try to quit because when we say the numbers, even when I say 75 lunches that I made, people thinking 75 lunches, what's 75? No, that was 75 servings for one, like 75 people, but they got 6 meals out of that. So when you start adding up, that was actually 150. And
Yeah.
then it's like, ooh, and then you had to do the breakfast. We was getting breakfast, lunch, and supper. So I'm like, and then
Wow.
we was giving them a lot, the condiments. We was giving them silverware. We was, and it's a lot, working in the school, it's a lot to make a meal. It
Yes,
wasn't
it is.
just like the sandwiches. You had to give them the apple, the vegetable, the fruit, the milk. I'm like, it was a lot making up, that one meal. So
Yeah, and you think about it in schools, and I didn't even know they were giving out dinner. So forgive me from before. They were giving out dinner, y'all.
well,
But
we still
it's
giving out dinner. We call it supper.
yeah,
Not,
supper.
it's like that
Not
little
necessarily
meal
dinner.
before dinner, that little
Yeah, yeah,
extra.
yeah. That
Yeah,
little
but
extra snack.
yeah. So like now we package it different because at that time we was packaging everything separate. And we was putting stickers on there to let them know, hey, this is your breakfast. This is what I'll go with breakfast. That was hard
Hmm.
work putting all them stickers on there. I'm like, oh, we
I
went away with them
bet.
stickers. And then we would give them recipe cards showing them how to warm it up. Oh yeah,
Oh,
it was,
nice.
yes, that them
And
first 2 weeks.
wow. And we're saying in each bag. And I'm thinking at the schools, you don't really have to do all that. The kids choose their milk or their juice and they're on with the line. They pick it up themselves. You just sit, so it's a little bit more easy, I imagine, than putting together all these meals and having to load them up in the car.
Yeah.
You said in an interview that your daughter didn't want you to go to work. How was that?
She was just worried, about my health and,
Of course.
and with the grandkids and stuff, not only me, but you got to worry about what are you going to bring home to your family, and she was like, well, Mom,
Okay.
you really need to stay at home. And I'm like, I know what it's like to have a kid to be hungry. So it's, if I can do, I'm going to do. And that's what I
Mhm.
did, regardless. We try to take all the, the risks that we can, the safety measures that we can to stay safe. We keep on our masks, we're making sure we have gloves, we're making sure we're sanitizing, washing our hands. So
Mhm.
we try not to have the personal contact with the people. We're putting them in a
Yes.
trunk. So we're doing, hopefully what we need to do to stay safe.
Got it. Right. Well, so far so good. So we're gonna keep claiming that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Now we've talked about these meals, and you just mentioned the number 75. But can we talk about over 1 million meals in 2 weeks? What? How are y'all getting to
Those
this number?
numbers, it was escalating. At that time, we was serving on Mondays and on Thursdays. So we was serving twice a week. And it's like the first service that Monday, everybody made a low number, because we didn't know how it was going to look. So
Right.
everybody basically ran out. Because like I said, we was trying to estimate how many we thought was going to come. So that next time, it's like that Thursday, we went up, my school alone went up to 300.
Wow.
That's my school, but you can imagine what Molina did. I think they went up to like 1,000 that Thursday.
Exactly. And Melina's a high
So
school, and your school is a middle school.
yes. And you got to look at the community around and stuff. So it's like, then Melina's kind of sitting there by herself. I got Kimball to help
Yep.
me out because
Yep.
Kimball's right there in that same little area. So I had a little backup for me, and they
Nice.
didn't have backup because I'm making some in Kimball so we could help each other out.
Hmm.
Because once Kimball closed, I went up to 1,400.
Whoa.
Yeah.
From 300, the high school closes next door. Your numbers
It went up to
skyrocket
14.
to 1,400.
But it would go up every week. It's like I made 300 that Thursday. Well, hey, that ran out. Then I went up to 400. Then I went up to 600. I went up to 700. Then I went up to 1,000. And then by that time, the 1,000 was keeping me afloat. But once Kimball closed, it's like that made my number go up more. So
Wow, man. And you mentioned before you had teachers helping you had Al, you had the cafeteria staff who volunteered to come in. Who else was helping y'all out push these meals?
the custodians, my principal, we had the office manager up in hey, we was all up in there stuffing them bags. And that was the best. You just don't.
You guys passed out so many meals that you landed the cover of Time magazine. Now, before we get into that, sis, I just want you to understand the magnitude of that. I mean, let's talk about it. Time magazine has been around since 1923. We've had over 20 million subscribers, and Michael Jackson, Toni Morrison, Ellen DeGeneres, the list goes on. You are right there with them, sis. How did that happen? Did they just come to the school and say, okay, we're ready to take a picture? We're coming from Time Magazine. Did they send you an email? How did this happen?
No, I'm in Alliance AFT, right? And so they was calling around to see what it looked like for us. What are we doing? Is the district gonna pay the cafeteria workers? Well, it was the AFT from Washington that called. And I'm like, yeah, we still working. And it's like, you still working? I'm like, yeah, we giving out lunches. So they were
Mm.
surprised. So they was like, well, can we interview you? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. So when they did an interview and it was in Washington, when they sent it out, it went viral. And that's how
Mm.
Time seen it. So when Time seen it, the lady from Alliance called me back and she was like, well, hey, Time Magazine want to do an interview with you. Do you mind? My Time can call me.
Right. What do you mean?
Exactly. So when he called, he did the interview, and I thought that was it. So he said, "Well, someone's gonna come taking pictures." So once she came, she said, "Well, it could possibly be a cover." So I'm like, "Okay," because a lot of people say, "Why you didn't tell us?" I'm like, "Well, hey, if we didn't get the cover, then I'd have to say, well, nah, they didn't pick us. Would nobody have
Exactly.
known if we got it or not, right?"
Yep.
So
Hmm.
once it came out, then we let everybody know that it's out.
Wow. How does that make you feel, being that you're being recognized for something that you've been doing for 26 years? I mean, you've been doing this. How does that recognition feel?
I still didn't understand the magnitude, tell you the truth. Uh, I just assumed that my family was gonna be happy about it. People that knew me was gonna be happy about it. That was it, because they know me, they happy for me. But when I started getting emails from people in Africa and people all over the world, I'm like, okay, they happy for me and they don't even know me. So that's when I really figured out the magnitude. And just like when you started off and you were saying all these people that was on the cover, I never thought about that then.
Yes, ma'am.
And a
Yes, ma'am.
guy from one of the newspaper was interviewing us, and he said, "Do you know?" And he was like, "Barack Obama is on the cover now.
Barack
Y'all want to?"
Obama.
So I'm like, "Oh, okay."
That's you.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. I bet it feels so good. So, so good. Well, I want to thank you for joining me. This was amazing.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
inviting
We
me.
really are coworkers.
Exactly, exactly.
We are. Oh my goodness. Thank you for doing this with me. We had to be safe, so we did it over the video. And I know you're working still hard still to this day. What are some encouraging words you have to say for anybody going through it right now, or anybody that can relate to your story?
That God is able. Even by my story, it's not just about the Time magazine. It's about all the people that heard me in the world that stepped up to help the needy. I'm grateful for the churches in our community, because when they seen the story, they
Yes.
step up to give a helping hand. So, just time telling my story helped out a lot of people, and I'm
Mhm.
grateful, for that.
Awesome. Well, you are a hero, okay? You are a hero, and we want to thank you so much for everything. I'm going to send you a Lex in a Box shirt just for doing this interview. So thank you so much again, Miss Yolanda.